This is Travis Wayne Goodsell. Excuse me. And there was another Mormon who thought that he was more clever than I am, and saying that I'm wasting my time by asking, what is it that we're waiting for, Travis? Because the video that is kicking butt right now, shocking LDS breaking news, LDS Mormons kiss your leaders goodbye. He thought he was clever and saying, oh, and where are they going? And then he tried to silence me by saying, go do something else. Leave us alone. So that's an attempt to silence me. I'm not attacking the church. The church has attacked me. I'm defending myself by exposing the church. Mormons, you need to understand that. This video is not going to do as well as the shocking LDS breaking news, but I'm still going to provide a video if I need to refer dumb Mormons to, so that they can figure out what it is that's going on, because Mormons are clueless. They're clueless. And so yeah, this shocking LDS breaking news is already at number 18 on my top videos, from being 31 yesterday. So it's not even 24 hours yet. It's 23 hours now, getting close to 1 day finally, and already it's number 18 on my top list. And so let's go over these other videos in summary form. All right. It started with Nelson announcing the temple in Russia. I knew that was bad news. I knew that something was wrong, especially when Nelson tried to silence members from listening to potential news reports about this. He knew he was in the wrong. You don't tell people to stop listening to fake news before any news comes out. He was trying to get ahead of the news reports that would be coming out about this. And so, yes, I've already done lots of videos on this with the LLC corporations with the $32 billion from mysterious unknown sources, and that they're investing it in the internet. And then we get Romney that's involved in all of this, because he said back in 2012 when he was running for president, Russia is the greatest threat to our nation. And everybody was trying to say, no, it's Al-Qaeda. And Romney was saying Russia. So Putin is thinking, hey, America interfered with my election in 2012, and I'd go over all this in the videos. And then you have Marriott that's involved, and data breaches, and Mormon church involvement as Nelson goes to Russia with his wife in 2013 in the midst of all this. That was just a dumb move to make. The church should have pulled out the missionaries, closed the church in Russia, but they didn't. And now they fell prey to a KGB operative who's leading the country through oligarchs and the Russian mafia. Unbelievable how dumb Mormons are. And so then the plot thickens as Mormon missionaries, who Tad refused to call missionaries. He called them by their real official names, according to what we call them in Russia, volunteers. They're missionaries. And then we get the breaking news after the Thursday meeting that the prophets have at the Salt Lake Temple in the upper room every Thursday at 10 o'clock. And sure enough, it gets announced that the church had decided in that meeting that they were all going to attend the Rome temple dedication. All 15 prophets. All together in the same place. Together. This is bad news. If the enemy who wants to destroy the church, and Mormons, you need to understand this. Yes, you are the enemy, but you cause enemies to be your enemies when you are corrupt. And you get fanatics, like Trump's fanatics. The pipe bomber, the guy who wanted to go and kill everybody and had a military arsenal. Those kinds of people emerge to defend the church. And you have the church, who has historically denounced the Catholic Church as the great and abominable church. And do you not think that Catholics are going to want to defend, fanatically, militarily defend their church, as Mormons build their temple in their land? Rome is the Mecca for the Catholics, just as Jerusalem is for Jews and Mecca is for Islam, and Temple Square in Salt Lake is for Mormons. And so here we are building our temple on their land. And so, if Catholics have had a change of heart and are now good people and don't go around seeking revenge on those who have done them wrong, okay. Great. Mormons don't do that. Do you, Mormons? Yeah, I've got proof on my own channel. And in my website or Gmail archives. Because I keep track of all of you. And so, yeah, that's not good news, Mormons. And so, yeah, I put the title, Kiss Your Leaders Goodbye. And then I found out I had obtained a faith crisis report that the church put out. And so I've got that theme that they had in the document itself on the thumbnail. And I'm talking over this page on my website, or on this video. And so it's bad news, Mormons. This is the cause of the loss of membership. Because Mormons were already recognizing, hey, the internet we're starting to lose Mormons. What do we do? And they got this Christensen guy to give a report and say, hey, I got an idea of what you can do. You can tell the Mormons not to blame the church and lie to them with gospel topic essays. And sure enough, in November of 2013, after this report was given in April 2013, the church went and published on their website the gospel topic essays, and a mass exodus resulted. Mormons were furious. They found out the church was blaming Joseph Smith for polygamy, which I've already exposed was a lie. They've blamed Joseph Smith for not translating the Book of Abraham. The church is supposed to be translators as seers, according to the Book of Mormon. Ammon and Limhi. And yet the church is saying, no, Joseph Smith didn't translate anything. It's all just made up in his head, and we call it revelation. And so I've already shown how that's wrong, and they do get it right. Brigham Young is a racist, and race in the priesthood, or blacks in the priesthood, or race in the priesthood, I think it is. But Mormons It's just unbelievable. So those of you who are left in the church, it's just mind-boggling how you don't leave, because apparently you're among those who have never watched the gospel topic essays, never gone to the website of the church to find out. You'd rather come to a video and get offended when somebody points that out to you, because that's what's happening. Have you read the gospel topic essays? Are you still going to support the church after reading the gospel topic essays? What does that say about you? What does that say about your ability to comprehend what you read? Remember, we went to grade school. We were taught English, grammar, and composition. They gave us books to read, and we were supposed to write reports on what we read. They gave us tests where we were supposed to answer questions about the material that was in the books we read. Did you guys graduate from high school? I'm sure you did. I'm sure you weren't rich like Trump was to pay off the teachers to pass him despite his failing grades, which he's now keeping a secret. Despite wanting Obama to show his, and Obama, okay, here's mine. Obama is smart. Well, I'm not showing you mine. You know, if one shows you theirs, you have to show them yours. That's the rule. And Trump broke that rule. And so, yeah, this is a crisis, Mormons. This is not just a faith crisis for Mormons who have exited the church. 13 million, according to my stats, which, thank you, has finally crossed the 1,000 view threshold. But this 466 views in one day, that's going to surpass it real quick here, because this temple thing is going to go on for days. So, yeah, because I did another one this morning. Nelson and the Pope has met, and so I put in my video that Nelson kisses the Pope's ring, because that's what they talked about, was Nelson giving loyalty to the Catholic Church. That's what it means to kiss the ring. It means you are symbolizing your loyalty to the Pope through kissing of the ring. And it's horrifying. So regardless of whether Nelson actually kissed the ring, irrelevant. Nelson, in the TAD's reporting, gave loyalty to the Catholic Church. And Nelson threw away the doctrine. Doctrine's insignificant. You know, it's us working together that's more important. TAD wrote about it. He quoted Nelson. And so, yeah, what's going on? Is there something else we can look to find confirmation for all of this, to explain it? And yes, we can. And I've already done that video. LDS Mormon Church breaking news. Tonight is the sign. It may not have been. I may have been prematurely made aware of it to warn you. And then sure enough, soon thereafter, boom, everybody goes to Rome. Nelson gives in to the Pope. All chaos breaking loose. Or all hell breaking loose, according to the Kiss song. All hell's breaking loose. Da, 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 da. And so, yeah, let me stop the video. I'll put the picture for the actual sign that I think is actually what's going on, and I'll explain it on that video. So hold on a second, and I'll transfer over to my movie maker. All right, this is a snapshot of the skies on the 11th of March 2019. So that's coming up on Monday. And you might be asking yourself, why are we looking at the heavens, Travis? What does this have to do with anything, especially with the church? Well, why would you be asking such a question in the first place? All right, you know nothing about the subject. That's why you claim that you don't believe it has anything to do with anything. And so therefore it makes you an expert on what is and what isn't. Anyway, here we have the sun entering into the zodiac Pisces. And you see that in Aries, the ram, Mars is there, and it's in conjunction with the moon that finally arrives after its new moon status on the 6th that we just had. And so what does this have to do with anything? Well, turn to your scriptures. What are the signs of the second coming? Well, there's heaven signs, aren't there? And well, what good are heaven signs if you don't know how to understand what they mean? Because you'll never know what to look for if you don't understand any of this. And sure enough, Mormon after Mormon after Mormon after Mormon after Mormon all come on and complain, hey, this is evil stuff, this isn't God's way, this isn't true, this is, fake, and blah blah blah. And again, it's because they know nothing, and therefore they think they're an expert. And so you guys have missed all my other videos, although I do have the 15K, or is it, yeah, it's 15K now, about the signs in the heavens. This was done before all of the signs occurred, so I only had a few signs that I was listing in there, and so that video must be understood in that context. Also, that video must also be understood in the context that I was still a faithful Mormon in the church and was not threatened to stay away from church by the former Bishop Reed Hammond, because I was promoting the Book of Mormon as the official doctrine of the church. And he didn't like that, and he silenced me to stay away from church if I was going to continue to do it. So I continued to do it, and I decided, hey, why don't I learn about church history? And it was all over from there. And I've had to correct critics, because critics believe the church's gospel topic essays. And so they left the church because of the gospel topic essays, but they didn't fact check the church's claims to find out that the church is still lying about having lied. So they left because they were lied to and didn't accept the gospel topic essays reporting. But anyway, and so the moon. You got to go to the Egyptians to understand that the moon symbolizes religion. The sun, therefore, symbolizes government. They make up the eyes of Horus. Horus is the son of Osiris. Osiris was murdered by his brother Set. So Osiris is symbolic of Jesus. Horus is symbolic of the last days Messiah. He's the second coming of Christ, which is not really the second coming of Christ, but the coming of his son to restore the kingdom that he didn't get to do because he was murdered. So now apply that prophecy of the ancient Egyptians to all of the scriptures. And you can go into the Old Testament stories. You see it right there with the beginning. Cain and Abel, brother killing brother. And interestingly, the follow-up child of Adam and Eve, they named Seth, with the TH instead of the T, but it's the same phonetic word, name. And then what happens? Who then represents Horus to restore the kingdom? Noah. He's born through the lineage of Set, which is what Horus did to confirm his legitimacy to the throne. Even though he was the son of Osiris, he legitimized his rule by showing that he was born through Set. And so Noah was born through Set, just like the ancient Egyptian prophecy, to legitimize his rule. And what was the story of Noah? A catastrophe of the earth. The earth was being destroyed because of the wickedness of the people, and they weren't listening to Noah, they weren't listening to God, and so Noah built an ark and saved his family and started a whole new race on earth. Now, what did Jesus say about the second coming? It will be like the days of Noah. Do you not get it? Jesus then becomes Osiris, who was murdered, didn't get to establish the kingdom of God on earth. And so he talks about the last days. It's not him coming back, it's someone else who will be born through the corrupt usurper of the kingdom. And John the Revelator calls him the man-child, or male-child, correctly translated. And so Mormons, guess what? This same prophetic pattern happened with your church. What happened to Joseph Smith? He was murdered. He didn't get to establish the kingdom of God on earth. The church went into apostasy because several groups branched out. Not one in a succession. Brigham Young was not the only person claiming to be the successor. That's just arrogance to believe that only Brigham Young was the only true successor and that he was the legitimate successor. That's just plain ignorant arrogance. So anyway, notice Mars is that tiny dot at the hind legs of Aries. Mars has already been identified as Nelson, President Nelson. I identified him way back in February 2017 when he did that Family Discovery Day during the flood. There was a partial lunar eclipse during that flood time, so nobody got to see it because the cloud cover was concealing the lunar eclipse. But that's when the flood occurred. Go back to Revelation chapter 12, down near the end of the passage, the chapter. That's right, there's a flood talked about there, isn't there? Huh. That's how I knew that Nelson is Mars. And so I've been tracking it all this time. And sure enough, when Nelson gave his youth fireside thing, I knew what was coming long before he gave it, because I knew that Nelson was Mars in the representation. Notice that the moon is also in the eyesight of the fish beast. That's not a good sign for Nelson, because if you're not familiar with your Bible stories, there was Abraham and his son Isaac. If you recall, Abraham took Isaac to the top of a mountain. Huh. Utah is called Utah because that means top of the mountain. Huh. And Abraham was all about to stab Isaac when an angel appeared, a messenger. And then all of a sudden a ram appears. and the ram gets sacrificed instead of Isaac. Well, now that's weird. Didn't Isaac need to be sacrificed in a similitude of the sacrifice of the only begotten of the Father? Apparently not, according to the story. And so, unless you're Islamic, and then you go, yeah, he was. And then Abraham had to go back to his other son, who then received all of the blessings of Abraham, because Isaac was killed. And so the Jews don't get it, we do. That's how they think. But, yeah, there you have the ram. And Mars is in the ram constellation. That's the sacrifice constellation. And you have the moon in conjunction at the eyesight level of the water beast. Not Pisces, the water beast below it. And you have the sun entering into the constellation Pisces. Now that's significant because of who the man-child is. Mormons, you understand the man-child as the one mighty and strong from Doctrine and Covenants, section 85, verse 7. You don't know about him because the church won't talk about him. But you know all about verse 8 because you do that lightning strike every time you say something that you think God will strike you down for having just said. That's not referring to you, by the way. That's referring specifically to the president of the church who has become apostate. And I've already discussed that in another video. It's Brigham Young as the one who's claiming that Joseph Smith was apostate, trying to solidify himself as successor. Alright, so I'm going to need to show you what else is going on Monday to help you understand more about the sign. Because Venus is the girl. But yeah, Venus is the church, as well as Virgo is the church. So let me go to that scene that I have to make here, so give me a moment. Okay, this scene is where Venus is on Monday, and you'll notice that it's the goat beast. Who is the goat beast? Lucifer. That's why they have the inverted pentagram as a symbol of the goat beast, of which those stars in the GOP logo, those are inverted pentagrams. You notice that? The GOP worship the devil. So there you go. But they don't have to necessarily, because they can have other meaning, but the GOP changed it. They made them inverted. So that's not good news. They don't explain it either, which is also suspicious. Anyway, this is the goat beast, the sign of the devil. Shout, shout, shout at the devil. And that's why everybody does the sign with the thumb over the two middle fingers and the two outer fingers up, and then you do that. It's similar to the Hawaiian aloha sign, hand sign, but the difference is that the thumb gets moved over in front of the two middle fingers. That's the difference between aloha and the sign of the devil. That represents the goat in that sign. Anyway, so you can see that the church members are in the belly of the beast, as Nelson is in the sacrifice constellation with the moon in the eyes of the sea beast. Not a good sign, Mormons. But again, you know nothing about the subject, therefore you're experts. Alright, let's go to where the man-child is and show you him. Now I've got that Venus is the Girl song going through my head. I need to hurry up and finish this video so I can listen to it. Alright, there's Jupiter. He's at the tail of the Serpens constellation. Ophiuchus is understood symbolically as the throne of God, and the myths talk about Ophiuchus battling the serpent, and thus the serpent is separated with Ophiuchus in the middle. And you see that Jupiter is at the tail now of the serpent and is heading towards it's not Aries. What's that? Sagittarius with the arrow. But Jupiter is the man-child. Already done that video. When I learned about the total solar eclipse over the whole United States, I knew that was it. That was the starting sign. And then as I did my research to verify and look for other signs in conjunction, boom, wide breaking news. And nobody listened. Nobody cared. And it came and went, and everybody says, oh, it wasn't it. We're going to have to wait for something else. There is nothing else. There are no signs like these that we've been having the last few years. They will never happen again. They have never happened before. These aren't rare. These are ones ever in existence. And so then you get a whole bunch of rare signs together. That's why it's never going to happen ever again. And astronomy, they're clueless. They don't know ancient history and how to understand it. And so again, they know nothing of the subject, and so they then are experts. And that's what the news did. They went and talked to these astronomers, and the astronomers only knew of, they didn't know how the ancients understood any of these signs that were occurring. And so then the news quotes them as the experts on that field, which they know nothing about. And so here, the man-child is battling the serpent. And so he's already been born from Virgo. And I've already done all these videos for the other stuff. And he's passed through the star Akrib, which is symbolic for the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And Nelson passed through this star without the protection of the sun, meaning he did not get approval when he partook of the fruit of the tree of knowledge. And whereas the man-child was protected by the sun, he did have approval, and he was granted immunity from the fall, symbolically speaking. You know, all of this is being portrayed in story form in the heavens, in accordance with the signs, after the manner of the understanding of the ancients. That's how they wrote the prophecies of all the scriptures. They knew all this. That's why, yeah, I'll save that one for Jesus' birthday, 2 days after the 6th of April. But I've already done it and talked about it, so you can find it. But I won't go over it again here. It has to do with Jesus' sign that everyone missed. All right, so, I mean, do you understand, Mormons, what's going on? If the prophecies are true, and you all claim that the prophecies are true, then you must understand that when Joseph Smith was murdered, that was it. The church is now in apostasy. They do not hold the keys of the priesthood. They do not have the ability to translate documents of ancient origin. And I did that video. I'm proof that the church is false. They don't have the keys. They don't have authority. They don't have the mantle. I just don't understand why Mormons who are left in the church, who haven't left already, are still refusing to leave. So, what's it going to take, Mormons? You know, because that's why I'm worried. Literally, I am worried. Because God wants the man-child to fulfill prophecy. He wants the one mighty and strong to fulfill prophecy. He wants the Jewish Messiah to fulfill prophecy. He wants Horus to fulfill prophecy. And how is that going to happen if those who are in power refuse to give it up? Because it's not just the President of the United States who has to be brought down along with the whole federal government. It's also the church that must be brought down so that no one can claim succession, which means each and every single apostle, prophet, have to be taken by God. That means the federal government is doomed. This is the only way that there can then be this man-child, this one mighty and strong, this Jewish Messiah, this Horus. And so when I hear about all the prophets meeting together in enemy territory, that automatically sends up red flag warning signs. And again, you guys know nothing about it, therefore you're experts, aren't you? So I don't want people to die, but people need to be held accountable. People need to be punished so that victims don't remain victims. And so here on the 11th, there's a sign. Now, there's this guy on his channel, Samuel the Lamanite, who knows nothing about signs in the heavens, even though Samuel the Lamanite was all about signs in the heavens, and Jesus chastised Nephi. Where's his records? Did he not prophesy of all this? And then Nephi went, oops, and then wrote it, and then called him a prophet from there on out. And so again, the Book of Mormon, if you believe it's true, is a pattern for the second coming. If you don't believe it's true because you recognize that plagiarism is not proof of its truth, then you don't know that Joseph Smith intended this to be a warning to the world. And I've done that video too. But everybody's failed. So Joseph Smith intended the elders of Israel to form an army to go up against this latter-day collapse of the government. But he was murdered. And the elders became subject to the Prince of Darkness. All right, I gotta go. Hold on.